It is 2:30 in the morning, and a woman named Linda is lying perfectly still inside a white cargo van parked behind a grocery store in East Los Angeles. Someone outside is slowly testing the door handle. She does not move, does not make a sound. Her thumb is resting on a panic alarm the size of a keychain. 40 seconds later, the footsteps fade. Linda has been living in this van for 11 months. But here's the part that surprises everyone. She has never been robbed. Not once. That scenario is real. It plays out in parking lots and side streets across the country every single night. And thousands of people just like her have developed a system for sleeping safely in their vehicles that actually works. Some of these techniques are so clever, you will want to remember them even if you never plan on living in a van. Let's start with the numbers, because the scale of the situation catches almost everyone off guard. In Los Angeles County alone, over 15,700 people are living in their vehicles on any given night. That's not a guess. That number comes from Safe Parking LA's own impact report, and those vehicle dwellers make up more than 44% of the entire unsheltered homeless population in the county. Nearly half. In Seattle, the picture is similar. In Oakland, over 1,000 people were documented living in cars and vans as of recent counts, and the U.S. Census Bureau estimated that about 140,000 Americans were residing in vans, RVs, or boats nationwide, which was a 40% increase from just 3 years earlier. That estimate did not even count people living in sedans, SUVs, or trucks, and it was calculated before the pandemic made everything worse. So this isn't a fringe situation. This is a full-blown housing crisis playing out in parking lots from coast to coast. And the people in these vehicles aren't who you might picture. Many of them work jobs. A lot of them receive Social Security or disability payments. They're seniors, they're veterans, they're single mothers. They just can't afford rent. Now, the first lesson every experienced van dweller will tell you is this. Your safety starts long before you close your eyes. It starts with how you think about visibility. Experienced vehicle dwellers call this the gray man approach. The idea is simple. You want your van to be so unremarkable, so forgettable, that nobody gives it a second look. A plain white cargo van parked in a lot full of other vehicles is invisible. A brightly painted camper van with bumper stickers and curtains in the windows is a target. This is why many long-term van dwellers specifically choose vehicles that look like work vans. Think about a white Ford Econoline or a plain Chevy Express, the kind of van you see parked at a construction site or outside a plumber's shop. Nobody wonders what's inside that van. Nobody thinks someone is sleeping in it. And that is exactly the point. Some van dwellers even put a magnetic sign on the outside, a fake company name, something like Anderson Electric or Pacific Plumbing Services. It costs about $15 for a magnetic sign, and it makes the van look like it belongs wherever it is parked. But the gray man approach goes beyond the outside of the van. It also means discipline on the inside. You do not cook with the doors open where people can see or smell food. You do not run the engine for heat while parked in a residential area, because that is a dead giveaway that someone is living in the vehicle. And you keep the windshield completely clean of personal items. Pillows, blankets, water bottles on the dashboard, all of that tells a passerby that someone lives in this vehicle. From every angle, the van should look like it was parked by someone who clocked out and went home. However, being invisible only works if you also know where to park, and this is where the real survival knowledge kicks in. The golden rule is never park in the same spot 2 nights in a row. Experienced van dwellers develop what they call a rotation, which is a list of 5 to 7 parking spots they cycle through on different nights of the week. If you park in the same place repeatedly, homeowners start to notice, local businesses start to complain, and worst of all, people looking to rob someone know exactly where to find you. So where do these rotation spots come from? Hospital parking lots are one of the most popular choices. Hospitals operate around the clock. They have security patrols, bright overhead lighting in the parking structure, and there are always vehicles coming and going at all hours. A van parked in a hospital lot at 3 in the morning does not look unusual. Nurses change shifts. Visitors leave at odd hours. Emergency room traffic never stops. Your van is just another vehicle in a sea of vehicles, and that's exactly where you want to be. 24-hour fitness centers and gyms are another favorite. You pay a monthly membership, often around $10 to $25, that gives you access to showers, restrooms, and sometimes even Wi-Fi. The parking lot stays active all night because of overnight gym goers and cleaning crews. The gym membership costs a fraction of what rent would, and it solves two problems at once: a safe place to park and a place to get cleaned up every morning. Truck stops and rest areas along highways offer another option, especially for people who are willing to move between cities. Large retail parking lots like Walmart used to be a common choice, though more and more locations are cracking down on overnight parking. The smart play is to call the store manager and ask before you park there. Some Walmarts still welcome it. Others will tow you. Now, one of the biggest mistakes a new van dweller can make is choosing a spot that is quiet and secluded. Your instinct might say that an empty lot behind a warehouse is perfect because nobody will bother you. But experienced van dwellers know the opposite is true. If you are the only vehicle in a dark, empty lot, you are a sitting duck. Anyone who sees you there knows you are alone, and there is nobody around to hear anything. Busy is better. You want other vehicles nearby. You want streetlights. You want the occasional person walking past. The presence of other people is your first line of defense, not your enemy. And here is a detail that separates experienced van dwellers from beginners. They never sleep in a spot they have not visited during the day first. They will drive through a potential parking area on a weekday afternoon to check for security cameras, look at the lighting situation, see how many other vehicles are typically there, and figure out the easiest exit route. That 5 minutes of scouting during daylight can save your life at 2 in the morning. But location only gets you so far. The next layer of protection is physical security. And this is where van dwellers have gotten incredibly creative. The single most important piece of security equipment in any van is a door security bar. This is a metal bar, sometimes called a club lock or a door brace, that wedges between the two front cab doors and prevents either one from being opened from the outside. Some people buy commercial versions of this for about $15 to $20. Others make their own out of a steel rod cut to the right length. Either way, this bar means that even if someone defeats the factory lock on the cab door, the door still will not open. That alone stops the vast majority of break-in attempts, because thieves are looking for easy targets, not obstacles. Next up is window coverage. Every single window in the van needs to be blacked out. Not with flimsy curtains that flutter when you breathe, but with thick, rigid covers that make it impossible for anyone outside to see in. Some van dwellers use Reflectix insulation cut to the exact dimensions of each window. Others use custom-cut blackout fabric mounted with industrial-strength magnets pressed against the window frame. A few people even use foam board wrapped in black cloth, which doubles as insulation during cold winter nights. The goal is not just privacy. The goal is making the van look completely empty from the outside. If nobody can tell that someone is inside, there is no reason to break in. You want thieves to look at your van and think it is just a contractor's van that was left in the parking lot overnight. One van dweller described it this way: at night, her van looks exactly like it does at noon when she is gone. No light leaking through the windows, no shadows moving inside, no sign of life whatsoever. That is the standard you are aiming for. A battery-operated motion sensor alarm is the next essential piece. The most popular model among van dwellers costs about $12 to $15, and it runs on regular batteries. You mount it inside the van near the sliding door or the rear doors, and if anyone manages to open a door, the alarm triggers a shrieking siren that can be heard from 100 feet away. Thieves want silence. They want to grab something and disappear before anyone notices. A screaming alarm ruins that plan completely. You can also pick up a personal alarm, about the size of your thumb, that you keep clipped to your pillow. If something goes wrong in the middle of the night, you press the button and it lets out a blast that will send anyone running. On top of all that, many experienced van dwellers install deadbolts on the interior of their side and rear doors. These are separate from the factory locks, and they operate with a different key. The idea is that even if someone clones your key fob signal, which does happen, the deadbolt still holds. For under $50 total, a van dweller can set up a security system that covers door bracing, window blackout, a motion alarm, and a personal panic device. That is cheaper than a single night in most hotels, and it works every single night after that. But equipment is only part of the story. Experienced van dwellers follow a nighttime lockdown routine that becomes second nature after a few weeks. Before pulling into a parking spot for the night, they always arrive while it is still light outside or early evening. This gives them time to look around, assess the area, check for anything that feels wrong, and confirm that the spot is still safe. They park with the front of the van facing the exit. Always. If something goes wrong at 3 in the morning, you need to be able to start the engine and drive away without backing up, without turning around, and without wasting a single second. Once parked, the lockdown begins. All windows in the cab get checked and locked. The window covers go up. The cab curtain that separates the driving area from the living area gets pulled shut. The door bar goes into position. The deadbolts get engaged. The motion alarm gets armed. Then, and this is the detail that separates veterans from beginners, 3 items get placed within arm's reach of the sleeping position: keys, shoes, and phone. Keys so you can start the van and leave instantly. Shoes so you can run if you need to. Phone so you can call for help. Some van dwellers add a flashlight and a can of pepper spray to that lineup. One more detail that is easy to overlook: your phone needs to be charged. Experienced van dwellers never let their battery drop below 50% before settling in for the night, and many of them keep a portable power bank in the van as a backup. A dead phone in an emergency is the same as no phone at all. This entire lockdown routine takes less than 5 minutes, and it has been refined by thousands of people sleeping in thousands of parking lots over years of trial and error. Now, if you are finding this useful and you want more practical safety advice like this, there is a free guide in the description below called the Veteran's Blueprint. It covers exactly this kind of no-nonsense, real-world preparedness, completely free. Grab it! So the van is locked down, the alarm is armed, and you're half asleep. Then you hear a door handle rattle. What do? The #1 rule that experienced van dwellers live by is this: never open the door. Ever. Not for a knock, not for someone asking for help, and not even for someone claiming to be the police at 2 in the morning. If it is actually law enforcement, they will identify themselves clearly and you can communicate through a closed window. If it is anyone else, opening that door puts you at an immediate disadvantage. The second rule is to make your presence known without making yourself vulnerable. If you hear someone testing the door handle, bang on the wall from the inside. Yell, hit the panic alarm. The point is to shatter the silence that the intruder is counting on. Almost every person who breaks into parked vehicles is looking for an easy score. They want to pop a lock, grab a bag, and vanish. The absolute last thing they want is a confrontation with a person who is awake and making noise. The vast majority of them will run the moment they realize someone is inside. If the person does not leave after you have made noise, your next step depends on the situation. If you feel directly threatened, call 911. But if the person walks away and you are not in immediate danger, the better move might be to simply start the van and drive to a different location. Do not get out. Do not confront them. Just go. This is exactly why you parked facing the exit. This is why your keys are within arm's reach. Everything in the lockdown routine is designed for exactly this kind of moment. And what happens after? The next morning, experienced van dwellers mark that spot off their rotation permanently. They share the warning with anyone they know who parks in the same area. They note the time, the location, and what happened. Over months and years, this kind of shared knowledge builds a detailed map of which places are safe and which ones have gone bad. That information gets passed around, and it saves the next person from learning the same lesson the hard way. Now, beyond individual survival tactics, something bigger has been growing across the country that's changing the game for people living in vehicles. They're called safe parking programs, and they're exactly what they sound like. A safe parking program is an organized, legal lot where people living in their vehicles can park overnight in a designated area. These lots often come with a security guard, access to restrooms, and connections to social workers who can help with housing applications, job searches, and medical care. Safe Parking LA operates 6 lots across Los Angeles and has documented real results in helping people transition out of their vehicles and into permanent housing. In Seattle, the city allocated $1.5 million specifically for vehicle residency outreach and safe parking lots. California recently pushed forward a bill called Senate Bill 748 that would expand state funding to help cities open and operate more safe parking sites, recognizing that for many people, living in a vehicle isn't a failure. It's a survival strategy. These programs matter because they remove the single biggest source of stress for van dwellers, which is the constant fear of being harassed, ticketed, towed, or arrested just for parking somewhere to sleep. When that stress is gone, people can actually focus on getting back on their feet. But not everyone has access to a safe parking program. In many cities, they simply don't exist yet, and that's where community networks come in. Van dwellers across the country have built informal systems for sharing information with each other. They share locations that are safe, warnings about spots that have become dangerous, tips about which churches and houses of worship will let you park in their lot overnight if you ask respectfully, and advice on which neighborhoods to avoid entirely. A lot of this information travels through online forums, social media groups, and word of mouth at places like food banks and community centers. For women who live alone in their vehicles, the buddy system has become an important survival tool. 2 or 3 women will coordinate to park near each other in the same lot. They check in with each other every morning by text or a quick knock on the window. If one of them does not respond, the others know to check on her. It is a simple system, but it has genuinely saved lives. Some of these groups started with just 2 women who met at a food bank or a shelter intake line and realized they were parking in the same area. Over time, they grew into small networks of 4 or 5 women who share a group text thread, rotate through the same safe spots, and look out for each other the way neighbors would. A few of these networks have even pooled money together to split the cost of a gym membership, giving everyone in the group access to showers and a clean restroom every morning. Some churches have gone further than just offering their parking lots. In several cities, congregations have organized volunteer watch programs where church members take turns staying overnight in the parking lot to provide an extra layer of safety for the van dwellers sleeping there. It is a small act of kindness that makes a massive difference to someone lying awake at 3 a.m, wondering if tonight is the night something goes wrong. And that gets to the heart of what this whole situation is really about. These are people who are doing everything they can with what they have. They are not asking for luxury. They are asking for 8 hours of sleep without being robbed, arrested, or harassed. The fact that so many of them have developed systems this detailed This effective and this consistent tells you something important about the human ability to adapt and survive, even in circumstances that should not exist in the first place. Every strategy in this video, the gray man approach, the rotation parking, the 5-minute lockdown routine, the door bars and motion alarms, they all come from real people solving real problems with limited resources. And the fact that a woman can park a cargo van behind a grocery store in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, follow a $15 security setup and a 5-minute routine, and wake up safe every single morning, that is not luck. That is survival intelligence passed down from person to person, night after night. If you learned something from this video, hit subscribe. More content like this is coming every week, and you do not want to miss what comes next.